do a simple cotton binding. So in an earlier video I just did, we talked about the sew and flip method and the quilt as you go method, where you can add pieces directly to a piece of batting that already has the backing and make a little placemat. So if you go out on our website, you can find this pattern, the Christmas placemat. It's out there for free in our little freebies section. And it also has the directions for the placemat as well as the directions for the binding. So I'm going to show you how to do a cotton binding. You can make these bindings as thick or as thin as you would like to make them. This one happens to be 2.5 inches. So to go all the way around this placemat, I'm probably going to need 2 strips of 2.5 inches. And I basically sewed them here in the side seam and then pressed it open. And then I took it over to my iron and I folded it in half all the way down. So the next step you're going to do is to lay it along the outside edge of your placemat or the blanket that you need to have bound. And what you're going to do is leave a bit of a tail, and then you're going to start pinning and go all the way to right here. And then we're going to use this really clever tool called a sticky note. And the way we're going to use this sticky note is we are going to place it right here where it's flush here and the point here touches right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch from here with like a 1/4 inch seam all the way until I get to right here where I would touch the sticky note. And then I'm going to pivot my needle and I'm going to sew right off to the edge. So I'll do that and come back and show you that. So you can see that, well, you can't see it very well because it's a coordinating thread, but we've gone all the way down to here and then we pivoted right there and it went right to the edge. So you can see where it pivoted here and then it was angled right to the edge. So then we're going to take this binding and we're going to fold it back up at a 45-degree angle and again use kind of a finger press to push it that direction. And then we're going to fold it so that it's flush with the top up here and finger press it there. And then I'm going to stitch all the way down to here and use my sticky note again down at this end to pivot and go off the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on all 3 corners and I'll be back to show you how we finish. Okay, so we used that same technique with the little square sticky note folded in half to do each one of the corners. And now we're around to the other end where I left a tail and now I have a really long tail on this end. So there's very clever ways that you can do it where you do it on the bias and all that kind of good stuff, but that's been too hard for me. So someone taught me once in a class that you can just overlap the ends by exactly 1 inch. So what I did was I grabbed my handy dandy ruler here and I noted where this one was ending and I wanted this to be exactly 1 inch past where that one ended, and I've drawn a little line right there. So this is just 1 inch past right there. So there's 1 inch in between these two. And I drew a line. And what I'm going to do is just use my scissors to cut at that line. And then I'm going to take these 2 ends and I'm going to open this up and I'm going to stitch this with a 1/2 inch seam right across there. And if I take a 1/2 inch out of each one of these ends, it will take 1 inch out of the binding and it should lay flat. So we'll go try that and see if it works. Okay, so we sewed that little seam and now there's just a little hole here. So it should just lay nice and flat. And then you can go ahead and stitch the rest of that right here. And then my next step is going to be to take it to the iron and iron everything outwards. So to press it as far as I can out and iron each one of these sides out. And then we're going to roll it from the back to the front and I'll come back and show you that.
The corner.
Oh, and the corner. So when you get to a corner, with that little 45-degree angle, it will just fold right like that. All we did now was I ironed it so that it was all pushed out this direction, and then I folded it and wrapped it around to the back side. And the trick in wrapping around to the back side is you need to make sure that it goes, see my seam that's right there? You need to make sure that when you roll it over, it's going to actually cover that seam. And then I use these wonderful inventions called clover clips to hold it in place. And I'll undo this corner because corners tend to be the trickiest. What I have found is that there's definitely one way where sometimes it folds nicer. Like, wow, look how nice that one folded. But if I try it the other way, let's see if it folds as nice. Oh, fine. So it lied to me because they both folded nice. But what I do find is that sometimes you can try folding it one way and it won't fold quite as nice. But if you flip it and fold it the other way, it will fold nice. So then what I do is take it and I stitch from the front side. But you just have to make sure that when you're stitching it that you're going to catch this on the back side. So you can either choose to stitch right here, what we call stitch in the ditch, right here in between the two seams. Just have to make sure that it will catch it. Or if you want to make sure that it will catch it, you can stitch right on the top here of the binding, and then it will definitely catch it all the way around. So it's kind of a personal preference, in the ditch or right on top of the binding. And I'll be back when we're done with that. And with that, we're all done. So you can see that I just stitched right along the edge of the binding. And so on the back, it's just a little bit inside. So I could have chosen to go here and it might have been a little bit closer to the edge right here. So just remember, if you go out to our website, it's www.McKayManorMusers.com and look for the pattern that says Christmas placemats. And it has the directions for both the placemat and for the binding, all in the same free downloadable. Thanks for watching.